побачила, як летить ракета. І я почула це.
We're back with Pete Blaber on Ukraine SITREP. I am on the road, and but we tracked down Pete, and we want to talk Ukraine. So, Pete, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Good to be here, Todd.
So we've got a lot to cover. I want to start with the European situation. We had the coalition of the willing plus Trump on Zoom, I guess. And I put this out today that Zelensky attacked Hungary and Slovakia, which are really the two remaining Christian countries in Poland that are not controlled by globalists. And he basically said, Trump wants us to stop us from buying Russian oil. Well, it's only Hungary and Slovakia that are buying, which is not true. They're all buying through India, third-party sales. So, and Trump, I guess, mentioned $1 billion in sales. So he's trying to shut down the money flow. But my point was Zelensky is getting on everybody's nerves. He's attacking some of our best friends in Europe. What say you?
Yeah, for sure. And, I think the coalition of the willing meeting, begged the question once again, why and what? Why are they meeting again? And what in the world are they talking about that they haven't already beaten, to a pulp as far as a dead horse goes? And, we're not the only ones. We've been postulating what's behind the Europeans' bizarre obstinance. Others, Professor Mearsheimer, Jeffrey Sachs, all those guys are saying the same thing, And whenever you have something like this, it doesn't make any sense. That means there's some sort of senseless motivation behind it, meaning like a crime, something that they're covering up. And, I still think that it has to do with the combination of the biolabs and the censorship industrial complex that's really centered in Ukraine. And if you look, the primary obstacle for peace is Britain, France, and Germany. And all three of them are, their political lives depend on squashing the populist movement in the country. And so they have the most to lose, and they happen to be the three primary opponents of, of peace, and proponents continue to postulate, about putting boots on the ground. So it's hard to figure out. We had the Irish Prime Minister saying, "Hey, we're still all in." The Croatian Prime Minister saying, assistance to Ukraine and support for joining the EU are our top priorities. And then Estonia, which continues to blow me away. Putin hopes that his games will tire up the democratic world. Our unity and determination have disproved that. So, again, just this bizarre obstinance. And, the other part of this is what we discovered in COVID. Propaganda is much more effective on those that already agree with the propagandists than those that don't. So in COVID, the people who already agreed with the propagandists brought in hook, line, and sinker into the vax and the boosters, and are now regretting that. And in this war, the Ukraine war, which is both a ground war and propaganda war, those that are on the side of the war are the ones that bought in hook, line, and sinker to the propaganda. And it pretty much sounds like, these European leaders are all just blindly following, the party line, and just continue to go down this road to destruction.
Yeah, it's not even shocking anymore. It's just I don't know what the word is. Maybe not depressing either, because I think we're winning to get this war ended. But it's just really just so devastating for the European populations, man. I mean, what these leaders are doing. So I don't know if Europe has the will to survive, I guess is what I'm getting at. With all the immigration and all the other issues, I mean, this issue has to be solved, or they're not going to have a future for their kids. But I guess they don't care about that, you know?
Yeah, well, their biggest obstacle is they don't have any MEGA presidents or prime ministers. Make Europe great again. That's what they need. They need leaders who care about their countries, you know, who believe. It sounds crazy because they used to be synonymous, but you know, we need a British prime minister who bleeds, you know, British colors. France, Germany, same thing, but they don't. They're united in this agenda, and you're right. The way it looks right now, they fully plan on the ship going down. I'm sure they all have plans for getting off the ship before it goes down, but they
Everybody else
seem to care.
Yeah,
they don't seem to care. So,
speaking of the consequences, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of the consequences of war, I just wanted to run this video of a Ukrainian veteran just executing civilians in a parking lot, and we'll talk about that. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. But yeah, that's just the consequences of war, right? I mean, we've seen that in the U.S. and in other places where you just run the population through this kind of unrelenting horror for years. That's what happens, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of the background of that tape, but it you know, I'll take that it's a veteran, and it looks like a really bad PTSD victim, which I can only imagine the numbers and the severity of PTSD that has been created by this war, because it's as horrific as any war we know of, in much high numbers. So it's going to be a problem. And, you know, it's important to see that, because there is no news from Ukraine. There's no such thing as a mainstream news outlet that reports from Kyiv in any kind of honest or fact-based way. And a lot is going on there that is important to call out, because, you know, it's like the spotted owl dies in the forest. You know, the forest is going, and what's happening on the ground in Ukraine is telling the whole world in no uncertain terms, this country is falling apart. This war has to end, but you know, there's no reporting on it. And I know we had the head of the Maidan protesters was assassinated this week. I think you have some video on that. I think that's an important event that happened. I'll wait.
I don't have the shooting video, but I do have an image of Victoria Nuland,
that's okay.
The guy who was killed. And the point of this image is that obviously this guy was working with, I think Thierry Laurent, who our audience knows, said was the former CIA as opposed to the current CIA. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Andrew Pariba, and I don't know if there's other pictures, but that picture is great. This is after. This is the beginning of March when this was taken. So the Yanukovych government's been overthrown. He's now the head of the Ukrainian Congress. He's a neo-Nazi ultranationalist. We should say that. And he was the point man for the Maidan protests between the U.S. State Department, the CIA, Soros's group, and what was happening on the ground. So he was the coordinator, the choreographer. You can pick your descriptive. And so if you look at that picture, she's like looking at him like, huh, kind of, wow, do we even need to say? And he's all happy. Look what we just did.
We did it, Joe.
Yeah. And so we bring this up to our viewers because this is another example of all this physical evidence that is still out there, and this is a byproduct of that physical evidence. We can only speculate on who shot him and why, but certainly there was no shortage of suspects. The U.S. blob, State Department, CIA, could easily have been the one. This is again, you see Senator McCain standing in front. That's a neo-Nazi over his left shoulder, and Chris Murphy, I think, over his right. Same thing, at the Maidan protests. But he knew everything that happened. He knew how much money. He knew what they coordinated, and so he could have said something as simple as, "Hey, if to Zelensky, you give up any land, and I'm going to tell everyone what happened in Maidan." In a moment of anger, and that could have been the end for him. If you, in the video where he shot, it doesn't appear he was very worried about his life. He's walking down the street in workout shorts and a shirt. He's very casual. So, it seems, which usually when you see that means it's more than likely inside job. He's lulled into a sense of comfort. So we can't tell, but what we do know is what he did. And I think you have another video of the snipers coming out of.
Yeah, I do. I was trying to load up some of these images, but yeah, hold on one second.
Yeah, this is the soup kitchen, McCain. So again, we've called this out multiple times. If Russian politicians were in.
Гвинтівки, хлопці, що це таке? Для нас труби, музикальні інструменти. Ну так, давай. О, пацани, привіт, Томаш.
So
this is a Philharmonic building where the snipers fired from. They killed 60 plus people, about half were security forces, half civilians. And this is a video showing him with his ultra-nationalist neo-Nazi snipers. And you can just look at the equipment. Any sniper recognizes they've got pads to lay on. They've got their bipods and tripods. They got their carrying cases for the long guns. This is what I meant by the physical evidence of what happened in Maidan is still out there.
This is a special report. Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
You just have to look. A lot of it's been scrubbed by censorship industrial complex, but they can't scrub everything. And this just shows it. As did those pictures of Victoria Nuland, holding hands with him. This is a hardcore neo-Nazi. He ordered the shelling and the continued shelling. He ordered the military. But remember, he went into that position. I think he was Minister of Defense, but he was a parliamentary head position during those early weeks and months, and he ordered the shelling of the ethnic Russian citizens in Donbass. So this guy is really a bad dude, and you can see him hanging out with our unelected Biden appointees, Victoria Nuland being the chief honcho. There she is handing out sandwiches, bizarre, you can't make it up. But it's important to keep hammering that home because it shows the foundation upon which this war stands is flimsy. There's no foundation to it. Everything we thought that started this war is something other than it seems. So you then add that in with some of the other current things that are happening on the ground. We also, I think you had a video. They just relaxed for the first time martial law on men. So up till now, all men aged 18 to 60 have been under martial law, not allowed to leave the country. Well, they decided to allow 18 to, I think, 23-year-olds go on vacation. And what happened was the borders with Poland just were overwhelmed. Almost every 18 to 23-year-old they could get in a car, pack up a bag, headed for the border. And so,
усі, хто наразі планує свої поїздки в бік україно-польського кордону, зважаєте, що на усіх контрольно-пропускних пунктах неймовірні черги, застрягнути можна щонайменше на 8 годин, а максимум навіть на 20.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is ask yourself, you and I both have sons, what would you do if, you were in Ukraine, you had been monitoring this war and the way it had transpired all up till now, and you had an 18, 19-year-old? I'd head to that border too. I'd take them to Poland or wherever, because people know this war doesn't make sense. The purpose is one part, and the way it's being fought is the other. The leadership on top, Zelensky, who political pundits, especially ex-general officers, have called Churchillian beyond belief. He cannot communicate with his people. He has not communicated with them because they don't believe in this war. To boot, Russia, the mod of Russia just came out and shared the Russian statistics of the war, and he just gave a yearly update. He said that their statistics show 340,000 Ukrainians killed in action this year. And that's about right. We have them at about 200,000. And then the admitted desertion rate admitted by Ukraine is 134,000. So round that up to 140, and that comes up to 340,000. Now, we already know there's been a million dead. And so usually by that number, you take an even higher number of injured. But if we call 750,000 injured and non-combat capable, that's 1,000,007. And then you take the desertions, which is probably 500,000 total for the war. You're up to 2.25 million, and there's only 6 million men aged 18 to 60 in Ukraine. So, we've said it over and over. A lot of commentators have. It's just a numbers thing. They're running out of men, and then you add in their military-industrial complex. Just in the last few months, has been destroyed 60% of what they had. If we believe Zelensky, he said in May that Ukraine was actually producing 25% of their armament. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt that this one time he was being truthful. If 60% of that 25% is gone, then they only have about 5% a military-industrial complex, and you can't survive on that. And it goes back to what we started with propagandists and the Europeans harking that, if we just hang a little longer, we can pull this thing out. We can put boots on the ground. No, you can't, and no, you can't hang out. Russia has a population of 144 million, and Ukraine has a population of about 35 million.
Well, it used to be. Now it's down well below 20, like 25-ish.
Yeah. So, but you can just see that number disparity too, and it shows you that even if you were to accept an equal number of casualties by Russia, they're proportionally it's a drop in the bucket for them versus what it is for Ukraine. And then, the GDP is the other one. Once your military industrial complex is gone, that's one thing. but Ukraine doesn't even have an economy. Their GDP, the Russian GDP is 15 times the size of Ukraine's, and they have a full-fledged multi-sector economy, tech, natural resources. So it's, you know, any historian who goes back to this point will just be shocked at these people continuing to advocate for the war to go on and for Ukraine to keep fighting. It's a crime against humanity, and it doesn't make sense on any account.
Not at all. So we also have a POW video talking about the level of casualties and the surrenders, the desertions on the battlefield. Do you want to run that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Слышал, что они сейчас там уже, ну, чуть ли как с ума посходили, что уже без, ну, по барабану им кого брать, что там брать, там, алкоголики, наркоманы, там, ну, не знаю, наверное, нехватка людей. Из-за большой численности погибших, ну, очень много погибших людей. Даже знаю некоторые кладбища, там, ну, как бы кладбище есть свои ограничения, да, что уже ограничения сняли, и люди вот так вот дальше, ну, хоронят. Вывезли уже непосредственно вот сюда, на село, где мы базировались. Я у кого не спрашивал, где мы находимся, тебе пока рано знать, потом узнаешь. Вывезли, опять же, на посадке, и мы заняли посадки и сидели в окопах там. Я вышел с окопа, пошел вдоль посадки, потом впереди услышал какие-то выстрелы, прошел через посадку, спустился через долину, там тропинка была, пошел по тропинке и вышел на ваших ребят. Вот так вот попал в плен. Сынулька, родненький мой, привет. Я попал в плен, тут относятся хорошо. Не переживай, все нормально. Люблю, целую, папа. Хлопці, якщо буде безвиходная ситуация, лучше сдавайтесь в плен. Або помирайте, або сдавайтесь. Лучше сдавайтесь в плен.
So that's pretty devastating, Pete, for military morale and, good order and discipline. You know, how are you going to, what's the old saying, you know, I had to learn at the Air Force Academy, if you can't, Patton's quote, if you can't teach them to wear the suit you want them to wear and salute the way you want them to salute, how are you going to get them to die for your country? If you can't get them to do the follow orders, then the whole thing falls apart, right?
Yeah. Well, it's, also, I'll quote another song from, whatever, before our time of 1, 2, 3, what do you fight for? Purpose matters, and the ability of leaders to convey that purpose is absolutely essential in wartime. And if you're not doing it, you don't have a purpose. Everyone makes one up for themselves, and pretty soon that dissipates into nothingness. And that's what you see here. Just that guy being indicative. We know the average age in the Ukraine military is already 42. That guy looks to be 60. He's probably not, but he does not look like he could be a competent infantryman, and that's not a personal criticism of him. Infantry is a incredibly hard life, especially in a war like this, and guys like that just cannot take it. They just can't take the pain and suffering that's required to be a competent infantryman. So we have that. He also said in that interview that Ukrainian commanders keep them in the dark all the time and don't explain anything. And that's been a topic I've been harking on from the beginning. It doomed Ukrainian military from the beginning. They have a huge power distance issue culturally anyway. So by allowing all the old school Ukrainian commanders to stay in place, they just perpetuated that philosophy of do what you're told or you'll be beaten. And then we added the American C2, high-level C2 model, which is the disconnected hierarchies micromanaging, in this case from Wiesbaden, Germany, and from Kyiv, micromanaging the war. And what you have is a military that cannot adapt to the chaos and the ever-changing nature of a battlefield. And every one of these guys says that one common thing: we're not told anything. We don't know where we're at. We don't know who's on our left, who's on our right. We don't know if we should fall back or move forward. And that's from not allowing the guys on the ground to make decisions to solve problems on their own. And it's probably dooming Ukraine more than any of the other variables we talked about, manpower, equipment, and time, is that command and control model. So.
Well, that's all I got, Pete. Is there anything else you think people need to know today?
No, I think that's good, and look forward to meeting up again on Tuesday.
Yeah, and we need to find out, what's going to be the reaction to Trump to all of this. I have a sense that Trump is looking to take. I was talking to somebody today that Trump may be looking to take down some of these European governments, and it's kind of an overarching goal. And a lot of this is negotiation. And if you look at what he did, he basically set them up to pay for everything in Ukraine. Then he rammed them with the tariffs, and he went off to meet Putin in Alaska. So, I mean, his government is corrupt. So maybe this is part of a much bigger game, but we will see. I just want the killing to stop, as you do, because, we know what it's like. All right, my friend. Thank you. Take care.
Yep. Take care,
All
Todd.
right.